Kenya will have to finalize the feasibility study of the third and final phase of the standard gauge railway between Naivasha and Kisumu before securing a 380 billion shilling funding from the Chinese government. Sam Gituku reports from Beijing.
Right, the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation Summit concluded earlier this afternoon, but there has been several meetings that President Kenyatta has been attending, of course, talking about bilateral meetings between the Chinese government and the Kenyan government, but the most important ones are those touching on the infrastructural development back in the country. And for instance, the standard gauge railway phase 2B, the project between Naivasha and Kisumu, which is about 267 kilometers, that is the railroad, is not yet signed because the government was seeking a financing of about 380 billion shillings. But what we have been told by the cabinet secretaries Henry Rotich of the National Treasury and James Macharia of Transport is that within 2 weeks they will be going through other processes to finalize on that before that deal can be signed. This is what they had to say.
All documents are ready. However, when we engaged the Chinese government, it was agreed that they do support it, but we need to complete the feasibility study, not just for Naivasha to Kisumu, but also all the way from Mombasa to Kisumu, so that as one project, we can determine its commercial viability. But we are very happy because already those projections have been done. It's not like we are estimating the kind of revenues which will be generated. Already we know how many trains are running, for example. We shall provide that in the next couple of weeks. And then I believe thereafter, the agreement will be signed.
And of course, the talk back in Nairobi and the country has been the concern about the growing amount of debt, bearing in mind that by March this year, at least 4.8 trillion shillings was owed to different lenders, both domestic and external. But now the government ministers are saying that to cure this, they are trying to look for public-private partnerships to be in a position to implement certain projects. And this will be affecting, for instance, the Western Bypass, the road moving from Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to Kangemi, and also the road that will be connecting Ruaka to the Nairobi-Nakuru Highway. That is also another bypass. This will be done through public-private partnership, and this is exactly what they said about those two roads.
We have engaged leading partners, and until now, nothing much has happened. This time, we have received commitment from a private investor here in China that they will do that road. And then on private sector basis, they do the road, they recover the money. And then after some time, the road comes back to us.
And it is worth noting here that the Kenyan delegation coming to Beijing came here with a deliberate effort to look for opportunities to improve the trade relations, the bilateral relations between the two countries. The information we have from the government sources is that there were those conversations, but in as far as whether there will be favorable trade tariffs, whether there will be a bigger space for Kenyan traders, that is something that we still don't have the details. But what we have been told is that there were certain concessions that were reached between the two nations, and of course we'll be pursuing the details to see how far that affects the Kenyan trader and of course the Kenyan producers of certain products that find their way into the Chinese market. From Beijing, China, my name is Sam Gituku. Back to you in studio.